We will be starting momentarily.
Well, good morning, everyone. Welcome to a beautiful Thursday morning. My name is David Splett. I am the Conservative MLA candidate for North Vancouver Lonsdale. We have a gorgeous morning and a great announcement this morning, and alongside of my fellow Conservative candidate, Sam Chandola from North Vancouver Seymour, we would like to introduce to the stage the next Premier of British Columbia, Mr. John Rustad.
Thanks all for coming here. It's a great honor to be able to be here today, and I tell you, absolutely blows me away when I see the size of a ship here that is being built by Seaspan, the largest naval vessel to be built in Canada. I think it's 173 meters. And I'm looking up at it and I'm just completely blown away at the work that's being done here. I think the workers here at Seaspan should be very proud of what they've been able to accomplish and do here in British Columbia. It's also very impressive to note with Seaspan that with the upgrades that have happened over the years, particularly I think it was in 2011 when the significant upgrades came in, that's what has made this possible to be able to do these size ships. Something I think all British Columbians can be proud of. We want to make sure that we have a very solid, heavy industry in this province, the ability to be able to work our economy forward, be able to make sure that we can build the vessels that we'd like to see right here in British Columbia. And I know, for example, BC Ferries is looking at 2 more vessels of large class. We want to make sure that there's an opportunity to be looking at being able to build those here in British Columbia as well. You know, there's more than 4,000 workers in Seaspan, both here and over in Victoria. People that I think are proud every day when they come to work and the work that they do across this province, the work that they do for British Columbians and the contracts that they have. And like I say, as Canadians and as British Columbians, we should be proud and supportive of our shipbuilding industry in British Columbia. When it comes to BC Ferries is the largest ferry service in North America. It's amazing, actually, the work that is done and across this province, but it has issues. There's no question there are some problems. And under the NDP, we have seen significant challenges in terms of services, in terms of ships and maintenance, and also a lack of engagement, quite frankly, by this government to look at local opportunities to be able to service and to be able to build ships here in British Columbia. So one of the big things that I look at when I think about BC Ferries as well is to make sure that there's accountability at that level within the ferries in terms of how it's run. We want to make sure that it is doing everything it can to meet the needs of our coastal communities. We want to make sure that there's accountability in their leadership as part of it. It's a critical component, in my opinion, in terms of how BC Ferries should be run and should be accountable to people. And to that end, we have communities, particularly when I think about the Sunshine Coast, but other communities across this province, where locals that use the ferry on a day-to-day basis struggle sometimes to even get on the ferry because there can be so many bookings in terms of reservations, and they're just asking, saying, look, we need to be able to use it. This is our lifeline. This is the way we get back and forth to work and our services. So we want to make sure that there's a priority for locals. We want to make sure also that we can do a monthly pass for people that are using it like that on a day-to-day basis so they can get back and forth from their communities, and the BC Ferries will continue to support those communities in the way that they should. We also want to make sure, quite frankly, when we're looking at modernizing the fleet and that side of things, that we deal with the bottlenecks that are there. We have seen right now, for example, the major routes between Tsawwassen and Schwartz Bay, between Nanaimo and Horseshoe Bay, they are often overcrowded. Often there is delays. There's been staffing issues, even though there's more staff in BC Ferries today than there was 5 years ago. There are issues, of course, as well with mechanical problems with the ferries. We have new ferries that are being built overseas, but we have 2 more ferries that we do need to see built, at least. Not to mention, I think there's some other modernization that needs to be done. We want to make sure that there is an open and fair process for bidding, for being able to go after these contracts, making sure that we add value to local companies and local distributors. I think there's something like 550 different companies that are involved and that have opportunities to be engaged in shipbuilding. We want to make sure that as a government we're supporting those industries, we're supporting the ability for them to be built here. So those are changes that we're going to make in terms of the procurement process to make sure that there is that opportunity for the local input and opportunity there. The federal government puts a lot of money into infrastructure around this province. BC Ferries is our lifeline, it's our highway for many communities to be able to get moving around. We want to make sure that we fight hard with Ottawa to get our fair share of the funding that's needed for infrastructure to be upgraded, for us to have that support we need for BC Ferries. At current, BC Ferries is struggling, it's not making a profit. I think it had a loss situation coming up projected. We need to make sure that we do everything we can to support the infrastructure that's needed with the money from both the provincial and federal government to do the upgrades necessary, but also to make sure we don't have to burden ratepayers with those as the people that are going back and forth across the ferries. And to that extent, we're also going to make sure we look at rates as we see the changes that are needed to BC Ferries. We're going to make sure we protect the rates as best we can in this province so that they are as affordable as possible for the people that need these sort of the ferries and ferry service. BC Ferries, I think, has a great opportunity across this province to be able to continue to provide the quality service that's needed in this province. It's something as a government, as a Conservative government, we'll make sure we protect. But we also want to look at innovation as well. There's opportunities, particularly with things like autonomous and semi-autonomous ferries that are being used in other jurisdictions in Europe to be able to utilize these same sort of services here in British Columbia. It's a way to be able to see people move back and forth from places like the North Shore to downtown Vancouver from a variety of points to be able to allow for people to get out of their cars and be able to use that and connect into transit. I think it's an important thing that we can look at, as well as places, for example, like the Gulf Islands, where people may want to go from one island to another to maybe go for dinner, to go visit with friends, and have those small autonomous opportunities or semi-autonomous opportunities to run back and forth and to be able to provide those sort of quality of service that people will be looking to improve what they want to do in terms of their lives and their lifestyles. So these are the types of things that we're going to be looking at doing analysis on and trying to bring into British Columbia. The innovation that I think that's needed, making sure that we support our local industry, making sure that BC Ferries is going to be there to be able to meet the needs of communities, and making sure, quite frankly, that where we have those communities where this is their lifeline, that they have a priority and have, like I say, those monthly passes to be able to go through and continue to be able to access the things that they want to do and live where they need to be here in British Columbia. And so thank you very much for coming out. I very much look forward to the work both that C-SPAN is doing, the work that they will do in the future, and the work that BC Ferries is doing and will continue to do for the people in British Columbia. With that, I'm happy to take any questions that you might have.
Thank you. Just a reminder, if you're calling in, to press *1 if you want to be added to the queue. With that being said, we're going to do Andrea McPherson with Global first. One question, one follow-up.
Good morning. The National Council of